Do you want better visibility and shinier headlights like these? They didn't start out this way. I'm gonna show you how I went from sanding to buffing to polishing to rescue my own 180,000 mile Subaru Legacy. You said in the comments, do a video about restoring these headlights because they look bad, and I know they have looked bad. So here's the video, step-by-step process on how we got it done. All right guys, I'm a little nervous. Haven't done a sanding video solo in years and years, but look at how bad these headlights look. You know, I've used a rinseless wash keg. I put some nice Nemesis rinseless wash on the surface, used the Legacy sponge, just did the front section of the car. I'll rinseless wash the rest later, but the whole idea is the ride looks pretty nice, and then you see just this yellow headlights. So first, we're gonna tape, then we're gonna sand, then we're gonna polish. We're going to restore these headlights on camera. Can I do it? Can I not do it? Follow along. This headlight on my 2017 Subaru Legacy is clearly the problem child. The other one doesn't look so bad, but this one, it's just very chalky. This is the one I'm gonna focus on today. Now is a great time to tape. Taping is hard when you have gloves on, so I'm just gonna tape by hand here. This happens to be painter's tape that I just bought when I had to paint the place I was moving out of. Use whatever tape you feel safest using. You know, different older paints, or if it sits for a while. You never know when you're gonna rip clear coat off the vehicle when you remove the tape. So just be discerning. And shout out to Mike Phillips, who I saw in a recent video. He says if you take a little bit of tape, and then you just blot it up against your pants or something cotton, I don't remember what he said, but that it won't be as sticky of tape, and so it will actually be a lot easier to remove. I thought that was kind of a cool trick. But the reason we have the sandpaper, and many of you may know this, but it's so that when we're sanding, if we mess up and have a whoopsie, we don't go right and gouge our clear coat, right? We want to avoid doing that. This is just for oxidized headlights to improve the appearance. First we gouge, then we refine the gouging, then we refine that, right? So we just go from big chainsaw to like lawnmower to like scalpel, right? So just our scratch pattern and our damage pattern gets more refined so that the eye just perceives clarity at the end. That's the goal here. It's gonna look worse before it gets better, and that's why we're taping first. There's nice looking tape jobs, and then there's this. But you know what? If it gets the job done, if you don't mess up the clear coat, it doesn't have to look pretty, folks. Tape does not have to look pretty. Okay, in my rinseless wash bucket, I have some sandpaper. It's been sitting for about 10 minutes. Here's 1500. Now normally, I'm so used to using sanding blocks, but I might just try hand sanding and just see how this goes. I'm used to using a block, so this feels really sloppy to me. Honestly, I know it's so inefficient, but I just love these like KXK blocks from Jason Kilmer from like, I don't know, 2020 that I still have. Yeah, I'm gripping in way better there. So I'm just trying to make nice even strokes. Typically you want to sand in one pattern with one grit so you know what's happened. So I'll try to remember that I'm sanding in a certain pattern here. Oh wow. Look at how milky that is. Now I have sanded, so I've done some headlight restoration on these a couple of times since I've had it, and they keep going milky on me, so I kind of know this is the game we play. But I've tried polishing these headlights a couple times recently, and they just went really bad really quickly. So I'm like, you know what? Let's put the full effort in. Let's try to actually sand these babies down, polish them out, ceramic coat them. The whole thing for me right now is just safety. Like, obviously I think they look ugly. Obviously I think they look ugly, but it's also like, I just don't see in this car at night anymore. And it's not because I'm getting old. It's just because they have gone so yellow. Look at all that, holy cow. All right, dipping my sandpaper and flipping it. There's two sides of this block. There's the really hard side and then the softer side. I'm going on the softer side. But you want to do whatever feels comfortable for you. Obviously that hard side can really dig in and be very aggressive. I just like to find like, that actually feels really good on the surface. So does this though. But there's so many different sanding blocks I've learned from Jason Kilmer, who makes them himself. So it's like, you can find the perfect sanding block for the surface you're on, and they're not all gonna work perfectly everywhere, but I'm comfortable with this. What I'm kind of looking for is my own hazier scratch pattern all along this light. So I just want to feel like, okay, I've done something evenly and then I can refine from there. I'm kind of liking this. I feel like we really cut through a lot of the yellowing, just in a couple spots that don't seem to match the pattern of everything else. I'm just gonna do no pressure sanding passes here with 1500 grit. Is this something I'd recommend for a beginner? I don't think so. I think I'd probably start at least with the polisher, rotary or DA, and just like see if it's giving you the results you want. Now this was a drip, I think. This I don't feel like got uniform, so here and here. So I'm just gonna make sure we create a uniform sanding pattern that I can then go after in my next step. And then down into here, this is why we have the tape, folks. And probably why I didn't sand aggressively here is because I knew I was by a corner. But we have tape for a reason, right? Look at that white slurry coming down. I think I just kind of skimped around the edges a little bit, and again, we know why. It's because I got the sandpaper. I think I was just worried because I saw this blue tape and that reminded me that I'm near paint, but the reality is that blue tape is my safety buffer, so I can sand right into there. Okay, because it's my vehicle, we're gonna say good enough. If it were a customer's vehicle, I'd do this. All right, so we have an even scratch pattern. Do you see that? It's almost like there's this like white plastic film over it or something, you know, like a big tarp. I'm next to a construction site, so I hear that tarp blowing all night. There's maybe a smidge in the corner that I could keep sanding, but that's pretty much uniform. So let's go ahead and try some polishing. Okay, rotary polisher, cord-free, with our new wool cutting pad designed for the rotary. And one spray of the gold standard polish. So we're gonna pair the polish with the rotary. Normally we pair this with the compound, but the reason I'm doing this is I like to do rotary with edge work. If I'm using a DA, I'm cutting better, more efficiently. We've talked about that on the DIY Detail channel. But when it comes to a rotary, it's just really nice for edge work. So I'm gonna work this at a low speed and try to see if it'll take these sanding marks out. Even though gold standard polish runs forever, when I'm using a rotary, starting to get things potentially warm, although I don't feel any warmth there, I'm just gonna clean my pad and get going again. Gold standard polish does cut best when it's on a fresh, clean pad. And I was running about speed 2 there. This combination is amazing. The working time plus the cutting power of the rotary and this pad. And actually the headlights are staying totally cool. I want to dry this off to make sure we've removed the scratch pattern, but I don't know if you can start to see that gloss compared to over here. Over here I haven't polished, over here I have. And this is basically ready to send, so I can't wait to just get this thing fully dialed in. Back to speed 2. You might say I'm over polishing the heck out of this, but it is totally cool to the touch. That's amazing. Okay, now I've got a light. I've got some panel prep. I just want to see, did I remove the scratch pattern or not? Now down here I have a little more work to do. But honestly, and then maybe like up here I could do a little more work. I just see some rotary marks in the, and then maybe up here a smidge. All right, so I could get up here a little bit more. Right into here. Then down into here. So I'll give it one more shot. But I mean, look at the clarity of that thing. This is already looking amazing. I mean, I can kind of see some sanding marks here and into the corner. So we'll take care of that. So I've got our dual action with our shorter pile wool cutting pad meant for the DA. And just in case I've missed any rotary tracks, I'm just gonna go in on speed 2, just a few passes, and make sure I got a little sloppy with the rotary. We went a little high speed, so I'm just gonna make sure I cut all that out. And the cool thing about the DA, with this pad and gold standard polish, it's usually all I need to ever one-step something. So I'm kind of thinking this is gonna be my finishing step. Let's see. Like I said, guys, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be enough to just leave it there, because that DA and that wool pad and gold standard polish on speed 2, well, as Eddie Cologne says, it does God's work. Oh, that headlight. Do you see the way that thing is shimmering? Do you see the way that's shimmering? Since we're having fun, I figured why not see how far we can take this. Rotary jeweling pad, speed 1, gold standard polish, just for the final finishing touch. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Let's go. Okay, how's it looking? See, to me, that shines, that shimmers. I'm gonna ceramic coat this beast, and I am so happy with it. Remember, this is 180,000 miles, the Subaru Legacy, but in just a couple of steps, like, this is a lot of fun. You can really restore the look of your ride. A little bit of panel prep on my towel. We wanna make sure the surface is completely bare. Yeah, we could use adhesion promoter polish from C6. The problem is, I don't wanna get out my palm sander, so instead I'm doing all this extra work with panel prep. Normally I love app for this, but I think just knowing that these will oxidize, I'll have to do all this again at some point. I'm not so worried about this being the be all end all, but wow, looks so good. All right, folks, DIY detail, 8-year ceramic coating, bum, bum, bum. Type 2, let's go. All right, 8-year ceramic coating. I know we've used this, I believe, in Omaha, so just 10 or 12 drops there. Whatever that was, I don't know if that was 10 or 12, but. And I'll just make sure I box this headlight, fill it in. Oh yeah, you want that 8-year durability on your headlight. I love just how chemically resistant, this is way too much, chemically resistant the 8-year coating is. So we'll give that a second. And then as it starts to flash on the headlight, we'll take Nick's favorite coating leveling towel. Who knew? Nick's favorite glass towel, Nick's favorite wax towel. And then I'll just flip it to a fresh side. That's my insurance wipe. And just like that, oh my goodness, I'm gonna let this sit in the garage overnight, even though after an hour it can go in the elements. Folks, that looks like a completely different headlight. Completely different. Incredible. Maybe Nick cleans his engine bay should be the next video, but this was the problem child headlight. And look at how that shimmers. It's protected. The best thing you could probably do for your headlights is get PPF on them when they're brand new. But otherwise they're just gonna oxidize. And that looks really shiny and sparkly. This one still looks hazy. So I'm gonna repeat the same process, but I'll do a wide shot for you so you can kind of follow along with me. That was a tight shot transformation. That needs some work. That shines, shimmers, sheens, protected, beads water. The rest of the Subaru is gonna get the dignity it deserves. A full entree shine. All right, fresh 1500 grit. We have a standard operating procedure. We know it's gonna work. Oh yeah. So before I start, I said the other one was a problem. Look how foggy this is in like splotchy. So it's really starting to oxidize on the top. And again, I've sanded and polished these before. We know this is kind of not gonna last forever, but up on the top for sure, it's cloudy. And then just some unevenness into here that I'd like to address. Yeah, some of this, whatever, the change in the milky look is actually under the headlight. So we just do the best we can here. And when it starts to get real slippery and it's not gripping anymore, I'm like, oh, that sandpaper must be expired. Because now I'm getting that grip again. So it's kind of a combination of, is your sandpaper running out? Do you have enough lubricant, too much? Usually I say err on the side of lubrication, but with sanding, if you have too much lubrication, the sandpaper is kind of just like sliding over the surface instead of gripping. It's like skating almost, you know? I could use a much bigger block. It'd be a good idea for me tonight. But this is what I've got. And again, I just feel real comfortable with this in my hand. So call me a hack if you want. We're about getting results. There's so many different ways of doing headlights. What are the ways you guys do headlights? You guys and girls do headlights. Again, this one wasn't as bad. Just for fun on this final step, I actually started with my rotary at like speed 2 or 3 with a jeweling pad, because at 600 RPMs on this lowest speed, it's really gentle. It's like basically jeweling. And I was just thinking, in case I just needed any last cleanup, I started at 2 or 3 with the red pad, then I went down to 1 for that final jeweling pass. All right, everybody, we didn't do a perfect job, but I showed you how to do this. Look, now we have a shiny vehicle. There's envy on the paint. And oh my goodness, yeah, we have older headlights here, but like, they shine. They've been sanded, they've been buffed, they've been polished, and they've been ceramic coated. Not perfect, I don't know what is, but this is a surefire way to take it up a notch with your detailing game at home. Did I leave some sanding marks that didn't come out? Possibly. But when you step far away from a vehicle, nobody sees any of that. Instead, they just see crystal clear headlights, shiny paint. They don't register any of that, but they makes them feel a type of way. And you're gonna have better visibility, which is what matters most.